The government has completely dropped the ball on y'all. This is my 5th time trying to film this, and shit keeps going wrong. They don't want me to talk about it. They don't want me to expose the truth, but we're going to. So yes, the government has completely dropped the ball on the Diddy trial, and in my opinion, this is not looking good. It's looking good for Diddy, but yeah, it's not looking good for the charges they're trying to pursue and now drop, apparently. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the trial. First off, I want to say that the way they set up what this trial was going to look like is absolutely the total opposite of how it's going. When they came out with press conferences saying they have a list of names from these white parties and these high profile what is going on? So in these press conferences where they said they had a list of all these high profile names and these all white parties, they have the list of invitation and all these things they said that was going to come out. They have not once went into any of it in the trial. The whole trial has literally been based around what he did inside of his relationships with his ex-girlfriends. That's what the whole trial's been about, pretty much. The only thing outside of that they have brought into the trial is the whole situation with the arson and Kid Cudi, which actually had to do with his relationship with Cassie. So I don't understand. And they have significant evidence for kidnapping and arson, but those are the 2 charges they're dropping. So this is really turning into a RICO to a DV case, in my opinion. And they have completely failed to bring the things to the trial that could have actually pushed the RICO charge. Not once did they go into the tunnels. Not once did they go into the white parties and what was happening there and who was involved and who was on those tapes. The only tapes they've shown is the ones with him and his ex-girlfriends and the orgies they were having. What is that going to do on a bigger scale? What happened to all these witnesses, all these victims that were coming forward while we were waiting for the trial to start? Where are they? Why are they not testifying? Where are the victims outside of being in a relationship with him? Where are the people that were helping this? Where are the ex-security guards that have been talking about this in interviews? Where are the actual witnesses outside of his close staff and ex-girlfriends and assistants? Where are they? They have not gone into any of that. But they're trying to press a RICO charge. This is so disheartening. This is so disheartening because everyone was expecting to find out who was at these white parties, what was happening at these white parties, and who was involved, who knew about it, who was, there's so many celebrities online talking about what they saw, what they were a part of, what happened to them. Jamie Foxx. Why are none of these people being called to testify? Usher, Justin Bieber, Ashton Kutcher. Why are none of these people being called to testify? They said all these high-profile celebrities and politicians and corporate companies were going to be exposed in the trial, yet we have heard none of it. The only name, high profile name, that we've really heard are Kid Cudi, Cassie, was it Prince? That's it. That's literally it. We have not heard any of those names they promised us that they were going to bring forth. What's with the tunnels? We want to know about the tunnels. What'd you find in there? What did they look like? Show us pictures. But no, we're not going to hear about any of that. Because testimony is over. Cross-examination is over. We are on the final statements, the final arguing statements. And that's pretty much the trial. That's pretty much it. We found out what happened behind closed doors with him and Cassie and his other girlfriend under the pseudonym Jane. Because they pretty much threw out Capricorn Clark's whole testimony. If they're dropping the kidnapping and arson charge, that was her testimony. Evidence that she was kidnapped twice. One of those times being to go commit arson at Kid Cudi's house. To go break into Kid Cudi's house with a pew-pew. Text evidence when she was sitting outside. Like, they pretty much threw out her whole testimony. And what this is starting to look like to me is there's some inner control. To me, and let me make sure I say allegedly, I think Diddy is controlling this case. Allegedly, in my opinion. And I got that vibe as soon as juror number 6 was kicked off the jury and Diddy and his defense team had the reaction they had to it. That was very suspicious. It made it seem like that was his planted juror. Because all they need is one person to find him innocent. So if, let's say allegedly, if he did plant jurors to sway this case, you know he's going to put more than one. But the whole situation surrounding juror number 6 was very, very suspicious. And now seeing that the way the trial is starting to come to an end and the conclusion we're coming to, it doesn't look good. Why are they dropping 2 charges that they have evidence for? I don't understand. And this is heartbreaking. It's so frustrating because you might be innocent in court, but the public knows. We all know now. And it's sad because if this goes in his favor, he will be untouchable. They can't bring this charge back on him again. They can't try him again. If he is found innocent, they cannot try him again. They had one chance to get him, and they have completely dropped the ball on it. Which means there will be more victims. There will be more shipping containers, tunnels. And it's just like that makes me sick to my stomach, because average people are out here connecting dots, putting 2 and 2 together, finding evidence, finding literal comments that are pretty much confessions. There's people out here who have real stories that are actual witnesses. Jaguar, right? Justin, Usher, all these people who could have, like, and here we are, focused on his ex-girlfriends instead of the tunnels, instead of all the kids that Allie Carter talked about that are in those tunnels. But I guess we really shouldn't have got our hopes up that this was actually going to go through. We should have all kind of knew it was going to go like this. Because if he was pulling up to places with FBI and FBI was working with him, they're in on it. So how could it have went anywhere? How could it have led to a life sentence? He's got so many powerful people on his side, in his pocket. And I don't understand why this is all the evidence they brought to the trial when they had so much more. But then again, his little spitball image child of his, Lil King Combs, admitted it in a song. One of his songs, that all the evidence they were looking for in that raid was actually in the house next door that they had secretly bought, put all the evidence there. They raided the wrong house. All that evidence was gone by time, the raid was over. If they see, they just raided that house, all right, we need to get rid of all this stuff. Allegedly. But his son put it in a song. So, when you have someone operating at this high of a level where they have politicians in their pocket, how can you take them down? How? We should have known this. But it's just really disheartening. We still don't know what the outcome of the trial is going to be. I don't know why my camera keeps just like slowly panning over that way, but it's really irritating me. I'm sorry, y'all. We don't know what the outcome of the trial is going to be, but it's not looking good. The evidence is this compared to what we all are seeing outside of the trial. We're seeing more evidence outside of the trial than we are inside of it. And I saw someone say that this is really just a humiliation ceremony for him. And I'm starting to be inclined to believe that, because what was the point? What was the point? If this was all it was going to be, why talk it up? Why work it up in these press conferences for it to just be about his relationships with his ex-girlfriends and the orgies they were having? Yes, those women were abused. Yes, those women were coerced and forced and scared into these acts. It's horrible what happened to them. But they had so much more they could have brought, and using the relations of an ex-girlfriend as the main evidence, that's touchy, because many people can look at an ex-girlfriend, and most people do, look at ex-girlfriends as crazy and bitter or out for the money. So this was very touchy. This could have went so much different. So much different. If they would have at least just talked about the all-white parties. Or the tunnels. The tunnels could have literally home run, scored the whole sex trafficking charge. Just off the tunnels alone that they found connecting into his house. That could have rested that charge right there. But they didn't bring it up. They brought it up in the evidence they found in the raid, but they didn't bring it up in the trial. When they raided his home, they let us know everything they found. But the only thing they brought up that they found in the trial was the baby oil and the K and all the D-rugs. That's all they brought up. They literally failed at proving anything. And their finishing arguments, the prosecutors, they made some good points. They had some good points and evidence in the testimonies they did have, but I don't think it's enough. And they had plenty of evidence to really drive this home, but they chose the wrong evidence to bring. And it really doesn't seem at all like they were really trying to get him. I feel like average people, average citizens are more passionate about proving these things than the prosecutors were. Because I know if I was a prosecutor, if I had evidence sitting in front of me about these tunnels, these white parties, the A-lister names, the politicians that attended, all of these things, I would have put that in the front of this trial. But no. We heard about something we already know about, the whole thing with Cassie, the hotel incident, all that. We heard a little bit more about what happened behind closed doors, but it didn't really prove much besides he was forcing them, he was scaring them, and he treated his staff poorly and forced them to be his D-rug mules pretty much. That's what they've proven. And I thought they did prove the kidnapping, but apparently they're dropping that, so this just doesn't make any sense. If they had the evidence to prove kidnapping, what made them drop it? What happened that made them, we're really not getting any answers from this trial. We're pretty much hearing what we already knew. This is really disappointing. So I guess we'll see what the end result is, but I'm going to be honest, I don't have high hopes anymore. And this is just, I'm going to call it what it is. It's bullshit. This was a bullshit trial. It's honestly so sad on so many different levels because there will never be justice for Tupac. There will never be justice for Kim Porter, all the people around Diddy that mysteriously passed from pneumonia. Biggie, all of these things that even other rappers, Eminem, when Diddy admits he's the one that put the hit out on Pac or whatever that line was. So many artists who are aware of those unalivings that Diddy had a part in, or controlled, or orchestrated, or did. There is so many layers to what he has done, allegedly. And it's put right in front of our faces. If you use your logical sense and evaluate these situations, it's pretty clear. And there will be no justice for that. But we still don't know how the trial is going to end. We don't know the outcome. So just pray that God takes care of that demon, because I feel like at this point he's the only one that has the power to take him down, because it's not looking good. It's really not. This is just so frustrating. It's so frustrating to see how this is playing out. And but I guess we'll see what happens, what the jury decides, what the court decides, and just pray that it doesn't go in his favor. I mean, if we're not gonna find out about what actually happened at them parties and who was involved, and there's not going to be any justice for any of the other victims, I at least hope that Cassie and Jane and Capricorn's testimony was enough. But it's not looking like it is. So I guess we'll see. I may or may not talk about it when they do decide. This trial just has really hit me hard, because I've always been the type of person that, like, ever since I was a kid, I thought about, like, I used to constantly have the thought, like, right now, somewhere in the world, someone is being hurt. And so when it came out that this person, Diddy, was doing this, and it was being talked about as if it was all going to be exposed, I cried tears of joy, because I was like, so many victims are going to be saved. They're like, but no. I think they're actually in more danger now, because some of those victims came out and spoke. If he walks, what is going to happen to them? It's just really sad, and it's really crazy, but we'll see what happens. But until next time, keep shining light on the truth, and I'll see you in the next one.